It's Hater Sensei, Grandmaster Chosen One, Ramsey Dewey. Let's talk about the boxing thing that happened between prolific martial arts internet weirdo DK Yoo and former world boxing champion Manny Pacquiao. So DK threw a few $1 million in the direction of Manny Pacquiao to stage an exhibition. Of course, Manny needed the money, so he said, let's do it. He agreed to punch DK for a few rounds, and so he did. It wasn't a great fight. DK didn't look great in it. Of course not. We have a non-boxer fighting a former champion, being real nice to him. And even so, it was a whole thing. Go check it out before DK Yoo erases all the footage like he did with his last boxing match and only kept the highlights. Speaking of which, the very first thing DK did after this fight was post this picture right here on his website of him touching Manny in the face with his glove. Again, a glancing blow, but he staged it as if to say, look, I'm not just on par with this former champion, being able to get in the ring with him. I'm better than the former champion because I touched his face with a glove. Pat me on the back. Anyway, we're not here to dunk on DK Yoo too much here, although we will. Not a big fan of what he's doing with boxing. But what's worse, this fight has not set a precedent. It has followed an already existing precedent, which is very dangerous and very irresponsible. So, in the past few years, we've had a bunch of celebrity boxing matches happen. Not just celebrity boxing matches, but we've had events like the Creator Clash, where we have some famous YouTubers punch each other and so on. The precedent, which is a very dangerous one, is this: that boxing is all fun and games. And that's bad enough, but fighters such as DK Yoo, the Paul brothers, etc., in spite of their talents or lack thereof, are communicating this very dangerous idea to young men, and it is young men watching these matches, young men fawning over these guys, young men hating on these guys, etc. They are being told through this narrative they are seeing that boxing is all fun and games. It's just a fun little romp in the hay. You can go rounds with a former world champion and just be okay. No long-term repercussions. It's just a neat photo op. It's like going to Disneyland, posing next to Mickey Mouse and getting your picture taken, and then showing all your friends, look, I met Mickey. Not only is that stupid, it's incredibly irresponsible, which is another way of saying it's stupid, I guess. Look, boxing is a very dangerous game. If we can even call it a game, it's a fight. It's a fight. DK Yoo was lucky. He was lucky that, one, fighters like Bradley Scott, who he fought in his first boxing exhibition, and Manny Pacquiao, far superior strikers, far superior boxers, far superior fighters in every measurable metric. That these guys were being nice to him, that they were being gentlemanly, that they were respecting the unwritten rule of the exhibition, which is, it's not a fight. We're not trying to hurt you too bad. We're just trying to show off a little bit and give the crowd a good time. Now, a boxing exhibition is something that really should happen between two high-level professionals. Because if you have two amateurs, it turns into an actual fight. If you have one amateur and one professional, it turns into a game of cat and mouse, which was what we saw. Fortunately, Manny Pacquiao is good enough, has enough control, that he could dictate exactly what happened. He could be the cat playing with the mouse, or the dog playing with the frog, like we see in this clip right here. Man, this clip reminds me of being a martial arts instructor, being an MMA coach, and the new guys come in the gym, try to murder the coach, I'll kill you, but they have no idea how. Like the frog trying to gum this frog to death with its toothless little mouth. And the dog, much like the coach, is just like, settle down, just calm down. It's what we've seen with DK's expensive exhibitions that he has bought and paid for. Why does this upset me? This upsets me because people die in the sport of boxing. DK Yoo didn't die He didn't take well, I was about to say he didn't take an excessive amount of damage, except that because of the antics of the referee, who was on his payroll, and the referee was attempting to act in the interest of DK, trying to let the fight continue. But what he ended up doing was allowing DK to take excessive punishment. There were several moments in the fight where the referee, a good referee, following the rules of boxing, following his conscience and better judgment, would have waved that fight off. But instead, he gave DK up to a minute, sometimes over a minute, to recover. These were just 2-minute rounds. And DK spent half of the round, multiple rounds, sitting there complaining, oh, it wasn't a knockdown, it was just a slip. Oh, he hit the back of my head. Boo, boo. Not to mention that moment where DK hugged, tied up with Manny Pacquiao to attempt to stop the beating. The referee broke them, and on the break, DK attacks his opponent. Not only is that unsportsmanlike conduct, it's illegal in the sport of boxing. No penalty whatsoever. Terrible, terrible referee. And it's not just because he was trying to give DK the best chance at winning. Essentially, he was giving DK the best chance at dying. One of my big problems with the sport of boxing, with the rules, is a rule that was set, when was it? The first time Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney fought. These two gentlemen were good friends outside of the ring. And at the behest of Jack Dempsey, it was a well-intentioned rule change on his part, but it was not a good rule. The mandatory 8 count, meaning after a fighter is knocked down, before this fight, you did not have to retreat to a neutral corner. The fighter who is knocked down did not get 8 seconds to get back in the fight. Instead, you could just hover over the other guy. As soon as he put 2 feet on the ground, boom, knock him down again. That was totally legal. So Jack Dempsey didn't want to do this to his friend. As a professional courtesy, he said, how about this? If there's a knockdown, the standing fighter returns to the neutral corner and the referee gives a standing 8 count to ensure that the other guy's okay. And then we'll continue. Here's the problem with that. That allows for a lot more brain damage. Quite simply, if you get knocked down, if you get hit so hard that you lose your equilibrium, you fall down on the mat, and it takes you more than an instant to get right back up on your feet and get steady. If it takes you a full 8 seconds to get to the point where it's like, okay, I can continue, sort of, you've been concussed, man. And the fact that this can happen multiple times in a single round means you can endure multiple concussions in a single round, meaning in a single boxing match, you can endure a whole lot of concussions, a whole lot of brain damage. Look, if you're brain damaged to the point where it is difficult to get up and you need recovery time, you are not fit to fight. You are not. It's a stupid rule, and it needed to go 100 years ago. So the fact that the referee is attempting to save DK by prolonging the punishment after a knockdown, after he has taken damage to the brain to the point where he is not able to stand up without help under his own power, and then the referee allows that to continue and allows him to be knocked down again, that's not doing DK a favor. Sorry, man, this man on your payroll was not helping you. So, a couple of big issues with this fight. One, let's recap. This very wrong idea that boxing is a game and that anybody, if you're famous enough and throw enough money at the problem, then you can have a fun little romp under the lights in the ring with a champion and be just fine. And two, the idea, two was sideways, you didn't see the 2 fingers. And two, the idea that you can just throw money at the referee and somehow game the system. You don't game the system of boxing that way. You know how you game the system of boxing? By becoming a competent boxer, able to intelligently defend yourself. DK had no business being in a fight with Manny Pacquiao, in spite of being a much larger fighter with a much longer reach, much heavier, in this weird catchweight exhibition. He didn't belong in there. He didn't belong in a fight with Bradley Scott. Some people have been noting, oh, DK, his jab looks better, his movement looks better, he looks like he's a better boxer than he was before. That may be true, but if we really want to see that, he should probably box someone at his own level, a beginner amateur level. What's wrong with that? I poked some jabs at these other guys like the Paul brothers earlier for, again, setting this precedent of it's okay to just go out and fight some famous badass fighters. Look, these guys are the exceptions, not the norm. They're not a role model of how to behave. These are guys who have gotten away with stuff that you won't be able to. These are guys with resources and abilities and athleticism that you're probably not privy to and may never be. And so holding them up as a role model, like, oh, I'm going to be like him. I'm going to go challenge Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather and Anderson Silva. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. One thing that this latest fight of DK Yoo reminded me of, the way he had this referee who was very biased and paid off and trying to milk the system and trying to help DK all that time. I had a fighter from Ukraine once, and he had a kickboxing match against the local hometown hero in this, where was it? I don't even remember, some town, some far off province in China. Anyway, this local Chinese dude, and I can tell the officials are trying to make him win. The referee is trying to make him win. But he can't win because my fighter's just better. He's just better. And my fighter is knocking the dude through the ropes multiple times. Through the ropes, knocking him out of the ring with his punches. And the referee would do everything in his power to try to give this guy breaks, to try to get him back in the fight, to try to make him win, to try to penalize my fighter for imaginary offenses. All these things that we saw in the DK Yoo fight. And it didn't matter, because the guy was taking a beating, he was taking punishment, he was getting hurt. And at the end of the day, he knew it, the judges knew it, I knew it, everybody watching the fight knew it. And it was undeniable who the winner was. The guy who gets knocked down repeatedly, knocked through the ropes, is in over his head. A good referee. Look, if there are any corrupt referees out there, and you might not think, if you are a referee watching this, you might not think, oh, I'm not a corrupt referee. But if someone comes to you with a bag full of money that's big enough, you might start rethinking that. I've reffed fights, I've judged fights, and I've had corrupt people come to me with bags of money and with threats saying, make sure it happens this way or else. Never have I compromised my integrity that way. Ever. In spite of the cost. If you're in that position, I admonish you, do not. And not just for the sake of your own immortal soul, which matters a great deal. Not just for your integrity as a man, which matters a great deal. But for the actual lives on the line. Your responsibility as a referee is to ensure the safety of the fighters. That is your primary obligation. It is not to make sure that one guy wins, man. You are supposed to be an arbitrator, an impartial arbitrator. If you're friends with the other guy, if you're a training partner with the other guy, if you are under the employ of the other guy, you're not impartial. And you should not be refereeing that match. And if you are a fighter or a promoter who is a fighter like DK Yoo, putting on events like this, shame on you for allowing this to happen. Shame on you for getting referees under your payroll and under your orders to try to make you look good. Look, I understand a lot of people are going to say, well, I respect DK because at least he got in the ring, and that takes guts. That takes courage. Bravo. There is a very different thing between having the guts to get into a fight, to get in the ring, to get into a fight cage, etc., and being a conniving little weirdo who manufactures a situation to try to make yourself look good. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. So DKU, I'm going to admonish you now. You're probably not watching. Some of your fans probably are, though, so I'm going to admonish them. Tell your boy this. Tell your boy this. If you want to box for real. Do that thing everyone keeps telling Jake Paul. Fight a boxer at your own level. If you want to make money off of it, okay, you can do that. You're already famous. You already have a bunch of eyeballs on you. You could fight literally anyone and still draw in a bunch of views. And you'd probably make more money. I don't even know if you broke even on that $5 million paycheck that you gave to Manny Pacquiao, that you paid him to show up and spar with you there. That's a lot of money, man. I don't know how much this event made, but I would be surprised if he broke even. Just box a boxer. Here's another problem. So few people know how to promote a fight. The guys over at the UFC do. They take these dudes you've never heard of and they turn them into household names. And all the weirdos out here try to ride the coattails of the established names. They're like, well, how do I get a bunch of eyeballs on me? How do I get a bunch of pay-per-views? Let's get somebody famous. Let's make somebody famous instead. That's a more valuable skill set. So few people know how to do that. So DK, you have this production company, you have this company that puts on these boxing matches, etc. Take somebody at your own level. Because nothing is more compelling than a well-matched fight, where you have two pretty evenly matched fighters who both have something to offer the other guy. When you hype up that match the right way. A fight where we know the beginning from the end, it's not that compelling. We see Manny Pacquiao versus DK Yoo, and we're like, we know how that's going to go. And then it unfolds exactly how we thought it was. DK didn't look good. Manny looked like he was dialing it in. We want to fight where we don't know the outcome, where we're wondering, is DK going to win this one? Maybe he will. Maybe he's got a chance here. And we wonder, is the other guy going to knock DK Yoo out? We don't know. Is he going to knock him down? We don't know. Is he going to embarrass the guy? We don't know. But we want to find out. That's the story that is compelling. That's how you create the narrative. That's what the UFC does, man. So get the act together. Get the act together. Become not just a martial arts weirdo trying to ride the coattails of a guy like Manny Pacquiao, trying to get that photo op touching his face with your glove. Be genuine. Be integral. Be a man. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.